The elevator dispatch log showed Car 2 answering a call to Floor 6 at 2:17 a.m. Floor 6 doesn't exist anymore. I need to back up. I need to explain what I mean by that, because when I say it out loud, it sounds like I'm confused, and I wasn't confused. I was the least confused person in that building. That was the problem. My name is Lyle Picorni, 57 years old. I did overnight security at the federal courthouse annex on South Market Street in downtown Wichita. The old one, the brutalist concrete box they built in '63 and never got around to fixing. 6 floors, or 5, depending on who you asked and when you asked them. Before that, I ran the grain elevator out in McPherson for 22 years. Wheat and Milo, mostly. Industrial controls, motor readouts, bin temperatures, humidity. I was the guy watching the instruments. I trusted numbers. Numbers didn't get emotional. Numbers didn't lie to you and then leave. After the dust explosion in 2018, after Terry and Danny, I couldn't go back inside a grain facility. The sound of the motors made my hands shake, but I still needed to watch something, so I watched security monitors instead. The courthouse annex was perfect for a man like me. Quiet, dead quiet. Floors 1 through 3 had some GSA offices that were mostly empty, even during the day. 4 and 5 were cleared out for a renovation that lost its funding. And floor 6 was a concrete shell. A burst pipe in January 2019 had cascaded water down through the ceiling, warped the floors, destroyed whatever records were stored up there. They gutted it, ripped out the carpet, the drywall, the drop ceiling, everything. Then they sealed the elevator shaft opening on 6 with 1/4-inch steel plates bolted into the concrete. Removed the call buttons, took floor 6 off the elevator panel entirely. 5 buttons in the cab, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was it. The security office was on the first floor, east side. 2 monitors cycling through 12 camera feeds. A desk with a logbook, a telephone, a small radio I never turned on, and the Otis compass dispatch terminal. A screen bolted to the wall that showed everything the elevator system was doing in real time. Every call, every door open, every door close, motor status, cable tension, floor position, green text on a black background like the old DOS machines. I watched that terminal more than the cameras. Old habit. I'd spent 2 decades reading motor controllers on grain legs, watching RPM and amperage and temperature, waiting for the number that would tell me something was wrong before it became wrong enough to kill somebody. Same instinct at the courthouse. The cameras showed me hallways. The dispatch terminal showed me the building's pulse. It was a Thursday in the 2nd week of April. Cold night for spring. Dry prairie wind rattling the window frames, dust ticking against the glass. I was drinking coffee from my thermos, filling out the 2 a.m. line in the log. All normal. Doors secure. No activity. Car 1 parked on floor 1. Car 2 parked on floor 1. I glanced at the dispatch terminal and the line was already there. 2704, call registered. Floor 6, car 2 dispatched. I stared at it, took a sip of coffee, read it again. Floor 6, car 2. I set the thermos down and walked out to the lobby. Car 2 was right there, doors closed, indicator showing 1. I pressed the call button. Doors opened. Cab was empty. Clean. The overhead light was on. The panel inside had 5 buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing else. I let the doors close and took the stairs to the 6th floor. 5 flights in a stairwell that smelled like old concrete and cleaning solvent. The landing on 6 had a steel fire door that was locked from the other side. I had the key but rarely used it. I unlocked it and stepped into the hallway. There was nothing there. Bare concrete floor, bare concrete walls, exposed ceiling joists. The elevator shaft opening was 20 feet down on the right, sealed with those steel plates. 4 bolts in each corner, rusted in place. Dust on the floor, undisturbed. No footprints but mine. I went back down and checked the dispatch log. The entry was still there. Call registered. Floor 6, car 2 dispatched. Below it, 2751, car 2 arrived, floor 6. Doors open. Doors closed. Car 2 arrived, floor 1. 47 seconds up, 47 seconds down. The exact travel time for 6 floors in that shaft. I called the Otis service line, told them the dispatch log was showing calls from a floor that no longer existed. The woman on the phone said it was probably a legacy entry in the dispatch table. Floor 6 had been removed from the physical panel, but might still exist in the firmware. A software ghost. She'd send a tech out the following week. I wrote it in my log. Dispatch anomaly, car 2, floor 6, call 217. Contacted Otis service, probable firmware error. I underlined probable twice. Next shift, Friday night. Same wind, same coffee, same empty building. I positioned myself in the lobby at 2:10 a.m., sat on the bench across from the elevators, watched the floor indicator above car 2, a brass semicircle with numbers 1 through 6 engraved on it. They'd never replaced the indicator plate when they sealed floor 6. The needle was resting on 215, nothing. 216, nothing. 217. The needle moved. It swung from 1 to 2, paused, then to 3, to 4, to 5, to 6, smooth as breath. It took 47 seconds. I counted. The needle rested on 6 for exactly 4 seconds, the same duration the log had recorded for doors open, then swept back down. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was standing 3 feet from car 2. The doors never opened. The car never moved. I could feel the vibration of a building at rest through the marble floor, and there was no motor hum, no cable movement, nothing. But the needle said the car went to 6 and came back. I opened the doors with my override key. Cab was empty. Panel showed floor 1. I stepped inside and looked at the indicator above the interior doors. It read 1. I went back to the security office and pulled up the dispatch log detail. Call registered, floor 6. Car 2 dispatched. Car 2 arrived. Floor 6, motor controller, cable tension nominal. Doors open. Floor 6, passenger detected, car 2, weight sensor. 147, floor 6, car 2 arrived, floor 1. I read the weight sensor line 3 times. Passenger detected 2, 147 bes. The car that hadn't moved had a passenger that weighed 147 pounds for 4 seconds on a floor that didn't exist. I wrote it all down. Every line, every timestamp. I wrote it down because that's what I know how to do. You watch the instruments, you record the readings, you don't decide what they mean until you have enough data. But I sat at that desk for a long time after, staring at the lobby through the security office window, watching the brass needle on car 2's floor indicator resting on 1, and wondering if 147 pounds was the weight of a person or the weight of whatever was pretending to be one. I started keeping a separate notebook. Not the official security log. That one went to the property management company every Monday. The notebook was mine. A spiral-bound composition book from the Dollar General on West Douglas, the kind with the marble pattern on the cover. I wrote the dispatch log entries in it every night, word for word, and added my own observations in the margins. The pattern was perfect. That was what made it wrong. Every night. 2:17:04 a.m. Call registered. Floor 6. Car 2 dispatched. The full sequence every time. 47 seconds up. Doors open 4 seconds. 47 seconds down. Motor controller shows cable tension shifting. A smooth sine curve consistent with a 6th floor ascent under load. Weight sensor. 147 pounds. Floor indicator needle sweeps to 6 and back. And car 2 sits motionless on floor 1 with its doors closed the entire time. I should explain what bothered me most, because it wasn't the floor 6 thing. I mean, that bothered me. But what kept me awake during the day, lying in my apartment on North Hillside with the blinds drawn, staring at the ceiling, was the precision. The timestamps never varied by a single second. Not 0217, 03, 05. The weight never changed. 147 pounds, not 146, not 148. The travel time was always 47 seconds. That kind of consistency doesn't happen in mechanical systems. I ran grain elevator motors for 22 years, and I can tell you that ambient temperature, humidity, belt wear, load distribution, everything makes the numbers drift. A degree of temperature changes motor efficiency. A grain of wheat in the wrong place changes belt tension. The numbers always drift. These numbers didn't drift. I requested the building maintenance records through the property management office, told them I needed them for my quarterly security assessment, which wasn't entirely a lie. They sent over a box of manila folders, mostly plumbing invoices and HVAC service reports. But I found what I was looking for. Floor 6 had housed courtroom 6C, a sealed courtroom used for classified federal proceedings. The records didn't say what kind, just sealed docket with a case prefix I didn't recognize. The courtroom had its own HVAC loop, its own fire suppression, its own access control separate from the rest of the building. It was a room inside a room. The water damage in January 2019 had destroyed it. The burst pipe that caused the damage was in a section of the plumbing that had been entirely replaced in 2012. New copper, pressure tested, signed off by a licensed plumber. A 7-year-old pipe that failed catastrophically on a Tuesday night when no one was in the building. I put the folder back in the box and didn't write any of that in my notebook. Some things you notice and don't write down because writing them down makes them feel like conclusions, and I wasn't ready for conclusions. The Otis tech came on a Wednesday afternoon. Guy named Rick, mid-30s, clean uniform, carried a laptop with the Otis diagnostic software. I showed him the dispatch logs. He frowned at them, plugged into the controller, and ran the diagnostics. Floor 6 isn't in the dispatch table, he said. It was 2 weeks ago. Your service line said it was a legacy entry. There's no legacy entry. There's no floor 6 in this system at all. Never was, according to the install log. The original configuration is 5 floors. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the dispatch log was right there on the screen behind him, and I could see the entries. 15 nights of call registered, floor 6, in green text, scrolling off the bottom of the terminal. So how is it logging calls from a floor that's not in the system? Rick didn't have an answer. He deleted the log entries. All of them. Then he went into the firmware and added a filter rule. Reject any call request from an address not in the active floor table. He tested it, showed me the filter was active, packed up his laptop, and left. That night, 2:17, call registered, floor 6, car 2 dispatched. The filter didn't hold. Floor 6 wasn't just back in the log, it was back in the dispatch table. Rick had deleted it. The system had put it back. I checked the firmware revision history on the terminal. It showed no changes since the original 2016 install. Rick's visit wasn't in the history. His deletions weren't in the history. According to the system, Rick had never been there. I did something then that I probably shouldn't have. I went to the hardware store on my day off and bought a small wireless security camera, the kind with a magnetic mount and a phone app. $60. I took it to work that night and stuck it to the ceiling inside the car 2 cab, up in the corner where the light fixture met the wall. angled it down toward the doors. The company didn't have a camera inside the elevator cabs. Nobody would know. I paired it to my phone and let it record. That first night, I didn't watch it live. I let it run, did my rounds, drank my coffee, watched the dispatch terminal log the 217 event like it always did. In the morning, sitting in my truck in the parking lot before driving home, I opened the app and scrubbed to 2:17 a.m. The cab was empty, overhead light on, 5-button panel on the right, the indicator above the doors reading 1. Then at 2:17:04, the doors opened. I'm going to say that again because I need you to understand what I saw. The car was on floor 1. I had been in the lobby at 2:17 a.m. The doors did not open in the lobby. I was watching them. They stayed closed. But on the camera footage, the camera that was physically mounted inside the cab that was physically sitting on floor 1, the doors opened, and through them I could see a hallway. Old carpet, dark green with a burgundy diamond pattern. Wood-paneled walls. Fluorescent tube lights and ceiling fixtures, 2 of them buzzing with that faint flicker you get when the ballast is going. A water fountain on the right wall, the stainless steel kind with the arc of water frozen midstream in the still frame. And at the end of the corridor, maybe 30 feet away, a door with a brass plate. I zoomed in on my phone screen. The brass plate read Courtroom 6C. The doors stayed open for 4 seconds. Then they closed. The hallway disappeared. The indicator above the doors showed 1. The cab was empty. My camera was still recording. There was nothing wrong with the footage. No artifacts, no glitches, no timestamp jumps. Continuous, smooth, 30 frames per second video of an elevator that opened its doors onto a floor that had been gutted to bare concrete 6 years ago. I sat in my truck for a long time, engine off, phone screen going dark, the morning sun hitting the courthouse annex across the parking lot. I could see the 6th-floor windows from where I sat. They were dark. They'd been dark for 6 years. No power on 6, no carpet, no courtroom. But the camera had seen them. I went home and didn't sleep. I watched it live the next night. I set up my phone on the desk in the security office, propped against the coffee thermos, the wireless camera app open and streaming. On the wall above it, the Otis dispatch terminal in its permanent green on black. I had both feeds running, the live cab interior on my phone, the dispatch log on the wall screen. I could see Car 2's floor indicator through the security office window, across the lobby, the brass needle resting on 1:10 a.m. Nothing. 2:14 a.m. The wind picked up outside. I could hear it in the elevator shaft. A low moan through 6 floors of concrete, the kind of sound old buildings make when the pressure changes. I'd heard it before. It didn't bother me. I grew up around grain elevators. Structures talk. 2:16 a.m. I poured the last of my coffee. It was cold. It had been cold for an hour, but I drank it anyway because my hands needed something to hold. 2:17:04. The dispatch terminal flickered. Call registered floor 6, car 2 dispatched. On my phone, the cab doors opened. The hallway was there. Green carpet, wood paneling, fluorescent tubes, the water fountain on the right wall, the corridor stretching 30 feet to the door at the end, courtroom 6C on the brass plate. But this time someone was standing in the corridor. A man. Dark suit, white shirt, no tie. Standing at the far end of the hallway, just to the left of the courtroom door. I couldn't make out his face. The camera resolution wasn't good enough at that distance, and the fluorescent lights behind him put his features in shadow. He was standing still, hands at his sides. Then he raised his right hand, and he waved. Once. Slowly. The way you wave at someone you recognize across a parking lot. Not urgent, not frantic, just an acknowledgement. Like he knew someone was watching, like he'd been waiting for someone to watch. The doors closed, the hallway disappeared. The dispatch log printed, Car 2 arrived, floor 1, weight sensor, 147 pounds. I sat there for, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10. My phone screen went dark and I didn't touch it. The dispatch terminal glowed green above me. The building hummed. The wind had stopped. I rewound the footage on my phone, watched it again. The man was there. The wave was there. Frame by frame, I could see his hand come up and move side to side, one pass, then drop. His face was a dark oval, no features. I zoomed in as far as the app would let me. The resolution fell apart into pixels, but the shape was clear. A man-shaped thing standing in a hallway that hadn't existed for 6 years, waving at a camera that wasn't supposed to be there, on a floor the elevator system said didn't exist until 2:17 a.m. every night when it suddenly did. I should have quit then. I know that now. I knew it then, sitting in that office, listening to the vending machine hum in the break room next door, the only sound in a building full of nothing. But I'd spent 22 years watching instruments, and the instruments were telling me something, and I didn't have enough data yet. That's what I told myself. Not enough data. The next night I did something worse. At 2:10 a.m. I walked to Car 2, opened the doors with my override key, and stepped inside. I pressed 1, just to keep the doors from closing on a timer, and I waited. The cab smelled like nothing. Clean metal, faint machine oil. The overhead light buzzed. The panel had 5 buttons. I stood in the corner opposite the camera and watched the indicator above the door. 2704. The indicator changed. It didn't sweep like it did from the lobby. It just changed. 1 second it read 1. The next it read 6. No movement between, like someone had switched a slide. The doors opened. I was looking at the hallway. I was inside the cab. The cab was on floor 1. And the doors had opened onto floor 6. The green carpet started about a foot past the threshold. The fluorescent light was bright enough to make me squint after the dim cab interior. I could hear the ballast buzzing in the ceiling fixture nearest the door. I could smell something. Old paper. The kind of smell you get in a records room or a library basement. The smell of things that have been sitting still for a very long time. The man in the dark suit was standing at the end of the corridor. Same position, same distance, same shadow over his face. He didn't wave this time. The dispatch terminal, I couldn't see it from inside the cab, but I heard the printer in the security office fire a line. Then another, then a third. 3 lines, rapid, like it was logging something it hadn't logged before. I stepped back against the rear wall of the cab. My heel hit the metal panel. The indicator above the door still read 6. Through the open doors, the hallway was still there. The man was still there. Then I looked down at the interior panel. The 5 buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Except now there were 6. A 6th button. Below 5, where there had never been a button. It was illuminated. It read 6. I pressed 1. The doors closed. The indicator dropped to 1. The doors opened on the lobby. I stepped out, walked to the security office, and looked at the dispatch terminal. 3 new log lines. 2:17:55, call from Car 2, floor 6. Fafi, passenger detected, Car 2. 147, Tujer detected, Car 2. 294 bas. 2 passengers, 147 pounds each. One of them was me. I weighed 204. I took my camera off the ceiling of the cab. I wrote my last log entry. I didn't explain. I wrote, shift ended 2:25 a.m., keys and badge in lockbox. Resigned effective immediately. I signed it, dated it, and left the logbook open on the desk. I walked across the lobby. My footsteps echoed on the marble, the only human sound in 6 floors of dead air. I was 4 steps from the front door when I heard the chime behind me, the elevator chime, the soft ding that means the car has arrived at a floor. I didn't turn around. but the lobby has marble walls. I could see the reflection. The floor indicator on car 2 was sweeping up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Through the security office window, I could see the dispatch terminal printing. I couldn't read the words from that distance. I didn't want to read the words from that distance. I pushed through the front door into the parking lot. Mid-April in Kansas. The prairie wind had come back, dry and cold, carrying dust from the wheat fields west of town. My truck was in the second row. I walked to it. I didn't run. Running felt like it would confirm something I wasn't ready to confirm. I unlocked the door and sat behind the wheel. In the rearview mirror, I could see the courthouse annex. 6 floors of brutalist concrete under a sky full of stars. The 6th floor windows were dark. They'd been dark for 6 years. No power, no lights, no carpet, no courtroom, no water fountain, no man in a dark suit. But as I turned the key in the ignition, one window on the 6th floor lit up. Just one. A faint yellow glow, the color of old fluorescent tubes warming up. It stayed on for exactly 4 seconds. Then it went dark. I drove home. I never went back. I never called the Otis tech. I never told the property management company what I'd seen. I just stopped showing up. 3 months later, I was working days at a feed store in El Dorado, stacking 50-pound bags of cattle supplement, and one of the other guys asked me why I left security work. I told him my back was bothering me, which wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the reason. The reason was 147 pounds. The reason was a floor that existed only inside the system and inside the cab at 2:17 a.m. The reason was a man in a dark suit who waved at a camera that he couldn't have known was there in a hallway that hadn't existed for 6 years, on a floor that the elevator's own firmware said was never part of the building. The reason was the 6th button, the one that appeared on the panel when I was standing inside. Because it meant the system wasn't just logging a phantom floor,